What's up, everyone? And as always, thank you for taking time to download another crazy and fucked up episode of SuppTalk Radio. As you always know, the gentleman in the black hat, Justin Hall of Supplement Snoop. Welcome as always.
Thank you, my friend.
Today we kind of trade in a one sexy bearded individual that likes to dominate, or another sexy bearded individual. Ben Kane, welcome to the show. Welcome to the family.
What's up, guys? Thanks so much for having me.
Ben, for a lot of people that don't know you to the SuppTalk family, maybe give us a little quick breakdown of exactly who you are, your background, and kind of we'll walk from there.
So I was a skinny kid in high school who just wanted to look normal. I was like 160 pounds in 2011. I got into working out, eating a lot, and ended up going to college for dietetics. Ironically, learned more off the internet than I did in college. And my senior year at Rutgers University, Mark Glazier at NutriBio walked into the vitamin shop I was working at and asked me a couple questions, which I'm not allowed to actually talk about. I answered them correctly, and he offered me a job on the spot. So that was about 5 years ago, yeah. And ever since then, I've worked for 2 different brands officially. I've consulted for a couple. I now work for PricePlow, where we create news, reviews, and interviews for the industry, and just kind of try to get myself involved as many places as I can in the industry.
So now, is that your full-time job, or do you have a day job?
No, all I do is PricePlow. Yeah, like 50 hours a week. It's we can talk about it at some point because I know you guys like to talk about the different reviewers in the industry. But there's a lot of work that goes into what we do.
Yeah.
A lot of people think of us as just a YouTube channel, but we actually do a lot. So there's and Justin understands because he has some similar channels that like people don't understand the amount of work that goes into. But we own a few different our blog, PricePlow.com gets about 200,000 unique visitors every single month. We do a lot of work to maintain the site. All the content that we put out, we have a pretty successful newsletter. So it's not just your run-of-the-mill YouTube reviewing. So yeah, it's a fun job. I really enjoy it. It's different from being behind the brands. I some days I miss that, but it's a different world for sure.
So did you know Mike previously, or did you just want to kind of reach out to him and say, hey, you guys want to collaborate, or how did you guys get together with PricePlow?
So I was at NutriBio when we did the Jim Stepani video. I'm not sure if you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was behind the camera there for that one. And Mike blasted that out. We didn't even know Mike at the time. Mike wasn't doing really what he's doing right now, what we're doing right now. So we became really good friends with him because he blasted the video out. Little known fact is that Mike got more letters from lawyers than we did for that. Because he was so outspoken about it. He got in more trouble than we did. And by trouble, no one actually went to court or anything, but he got a lot of
in this industry.
Yeah. So that's when he started doing more of like the sponsored content type stuff, when we started working with him, and he kind of had some inspiration around that time. And so I was his main contact at PricePlow, at NutriBio. So I became really good friends with him over the years that I was there. After NutriBio, I was at another company for about 6 months where I was still his main contact. And then after I left that company, he was like, Mike kind of started seeing some of the stuff in the industry. He just really didn't enjoy doing this all by himself. And he wanted someone else to come in who was a little bit younger, who could, you guys all see like the pre-workouts, like not for pussy and stuff like that. He just kind of, it's like a running joke between us. It's like he hates that part of the industry. So he wanted someone young to come in who like didn't mind dealing with all of that as much. So he was like, he wanted someone to come in and really be a part of the brand. You guys have seen like before, like CJ, Robert and stuff were involved, but it was all kind of like part-time stuff. You needed someone to do it full-time. So it was a perfect fit, perfect timing. And I was kind of sick of dealing with the private part of the industry. So it was cool to get out into the third party. And it's fun. You guys see it. You guys do it. To be able to work with people across the entire industry is so much more fun. So.
Ben, I actually was trying to do a little diligence, and I actually saw your review the other day on your MFIT. I forget what you titled it, the upcoming brand of the year or something along those lines.
Yeah. It was we gave them a rookie brand of the year. They did a really good job this year. MFIT's a really cool brand. I think you've done a little bit with them, right, Justin?
Yeah, they got some cool products, and you're right too. It almost seems like MFIT has been around for a really long time, but it was just this year that they sort of came on. You could tell that they had a lot of experience and backing to get off the ground running. You know what I mean?
They have the highest selling vitamin D and calcium in China.
Really?
So, like, yeah, ANZ Pharmaceutical is the pharmaceutical company that owns MFIT. They owned another brand, and the name of it is escaping me because I never do anything with them, which is like China exclusive pretty much, and they kill it over there. So they realize like, hey, this is doing really well. We'd like to go full into sports nutrition, internationally. And they brought in this guy Nick, who I can't remember where he was before. He was at like Garden of Life or something. He's gonna get mad at me that I can't remember, but he was at some brand where he has a ton of experience. He knows regulatory, he knows all this different stuff. So he was able to come in, pick up Guy Cistrino, a couple different pros, and like kind of just have like the dream team. They launched at the Arnold like in March.
Yeah.
And they just had a meeting with Vitamin Shop like 2 weeks ago. Like, I mean, I would hate to have growth that quickly. That's
Yeah.
I've done that. I did Vitamin Shop, GNC, and Vitamin.com in 12 months at Nutrival, and it was insane. It was miserable. I mean, like, you go from sending out packages of like 200 bottles to getting a $300,000 PO from Vitamin Shop. Like, the growth is just, it's hard to keep up with at that level.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing pretty cool stuff. And my biggest problem with them last week was their CBD product they came out with, because CBD is so hard to label right now because you have to be really careful. And MFIT was actually extra careful with their CBD. They labeled their CBD as phytocannabinoid content, which is legal. CBD is a phytocannabinoid, but like they're not really being like, they're not telling you that this is pure CBD, which is safer for them, but unfortunate for them because they can't make all the claims they would if they were just going to call it CBD. So they're doing everything right, which is cool, which is fun. I deal with a lot of brands that aren't doing things right as well, so they make my job easier.
What are they hurting themselves by not really putting out there the CBD like everybody else does?
Yeah, so like phytocannabinoid content is just like all of the naturally occurring cannabinoids in cannabis, like hemp in this case. And so there's like CBDV, THCV, CBDG. There's like a whole bunch of different ones in there. And CBD is obviously the most widely studied. It's like the big buzzword and all that. All of the other ones in there obviously have important roles. It's kind of the difference between like a concentrate whey and an isolate. Like there's other stuff in like the immunoglobulins that like have certain synergistic things, but some people just want an isolate. So in this case, it's a CBD isolate, which is awesome if you're looking for just the isolated CBD. But they've labeled it as phytocannabinoid content, which they're not lying. It is it's like calling whey protein isolate a whey protein. It's still whey protein. It's just you're not really getting all the label claims that you normally would. So it made my job a little more tough because putting out the content for it, I have to be really careful what I say. And then we had a whole bunch of people. I mean, every single time I post something, I get some sort of. So I mean, it's I have to deal with people every single day on that kind of stuff. So I want to call us out. So I mean, I just be careful with the stuff that I claim, as with any other product.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say you're an advocate yourself of the product, not the product, but CBD oil in general?
I think it's safe to say I advocate for all types of marijuana usage. Definitely. Like I think as a whole, it's a really important ingredient. We have I had a really good talk with this with Glazier because he made a better point. I was like, I think everyone should be using some sort of cannabis in some sort. He was like, I look at it the other way around. Our bodies, we just found out in 2011, I think, have this endocannabinoid system, which respond to these cannabinoids. And we have no clue, like, the full capability of what the system does.
Yeah.
So we should be focusing on that. I mean, Mike also talks about how, like, stuff like sunflower oil, like seed oils, can inhibit the system. So sometimes that's kind of one of the theories out there is that, like, our addiction to processed foods is that actually then drives our addiction to marijuana because we have to be expressing the system after it's inhibited. But there's not a lot of science on it. I just, when I take the product, I feel the CBD in general, if it's a good product, because there's a lot of bad CBD out there. But if I take a good one, I feel more relaxed. My aches and pains go away. Not go away, but they feel better.
Yep.
So I think it's important. I think it has a place, but kind of similar to a lot of ingredients out there, we don't have enough science on it. So
yeah, it's like that. It's like that response to, people talk about the runner's high and stuff like that. It's your body's, it's stimulating that response to pain and things like that, where your body will take over and get you through that. So, I mean, it's really cool. I think it's awesome. I think the unfortunate part, like you were saying, is if you just put that on a product these days, it's kind of like keto or something like that, where people will just gravitate towards it, and you don't have to have much. I'm curious to see, once you see some, like you said, MFIT. I want to see some legitimate companies start to address it. You know what I mean? Ones that we know put through. So I think it's always good to see companies like them get involved in, like Morphogen came out with a hemp oil product with some testing. It's like, that's what we need to see. It's like the people that are just jumping on this bandwagon, you see a lot of bullshit. We just need more good, solid companies with good manufacturing procedures and testing to get in there, because it's really cool stuff. Like, that's what people ask me about it all the time. I'm like, well, if we can start talking real about it, then hell yeah, man. I mean, I'm all for it. So we'll see.
I want to see more patented CBDs, like this one that MFIT uses from Verdant Oasis, which is owned by Barrington's, which is a pretty cool ingredient company. I was able to get HPLC analysis of it right off the site, which is,
that's cool.
I mean, I don't care if it's patented or if you do your own testing, as long as there's something, that's what's cool for me, is like being able to track it, being able to, like, I know where this came from, because there's so much CBD out there that's just like made in some farm in Michigan, and you have no clue if it's real or not. I know some companies that, in preparation for this whole CBD thing, ordered probably like every single main company out there, and like I'd say 75% of it doesn't even have real CBD in it.
A lot of it's MCT oil. Like, you'll look at the label, I'm like, man, it's MCT oil. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, or it's very low concentration, or there's and that's why I didn't blame people when they jumped down my throat for the content on that product, was because there is some bad stuff out there actually. So if that sparked like 48 hours of CBD research for me. It was like I didn't even sleep. I was just like trying to get in on this stuff. So it's pretty cool stuff though. I really enjoy it. But there's this like this split between the manufacturing side of CBD and the research side of CBD. Like the studies on CBD don't really match the products that are being put out.
Right, 100%.
So let's see.
But how long are we gonna ride the wave before the FDA comes fucking knocking on that?
Well, that's the funny part, is that there was a drug approved or tested. I'm not sure where in the process it is, made from CBD right now. So that by definition makes CBD not a dietary supplement. So that's a tough spot. I mean, that's really hard. I don't know I don't know a lot of exacts on it, but I know that there is a CBD drug out there. So we might see something coming out. It's unfortunate.
Out of time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into this at some point, especially with the laxogen and stuff. But like, I'm not like a fan of the FDA, but like I'm a fan, like we all voted DSHEA into existence. Like, it exists because the American voters voted for it. It's not like a lot of policies out there, which I would call kind of unconstitutional, that weren't actually voted by the public. So like, if we all voted DSHEA into existence, like, we have to follow that. So like, when people are like, DMA should be illegal, I'm like, well, by definition, it's not. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but we all kind of chose this, so we kind of have to sit in it,
Right.
So it's unfortunate we chose this. Like, once it becomes a drug, we can't use it as a dietary supplement. So we can't really bitch about CBD not being a product soon if we all voted for this.
Yeah. So Ben, you kind of opened the door on laxogenin. I mean, what flagged? I've been following it this much, but what flagged it this week from either of you guys to the FDA start knocking now?
Well, I'll just make it's funny. Justin's probably seen me make this post on like 3 different posts right now. I really have no skin in this game. I don't have any horse in the race. I really don't care about laxogenin as a whole. But I keep reminding everyone, the advisory list was because people kept complaining that the FDA would pull stuff or make very sudden decisions and not explain it or like tell anyone ahead of time. So the FDA was like, fine, we'll make an advisory list. So anytime we're like looking at something, we'll just tell you. So that's a really good idea, because now like we're like, oh shit, okay, the FDA is looking at this, that we'll just keep in mind. But the problem is that like Amazon, bodybuilding, GNC, like all these people are like, oh shit, the FDA is looking at this, so we're all going to pull all of this. So I mean, effectively, the FDA could really affect the entire market of an ingredient very easily by just putting it on this advisory list. I personally don't really care for laxogenin. I don't think there's a lot of studies on it showing that it's incredibly powerful. And I'm like a consumer first, so like, if you want to spend $60 on a product, I'm going to tell you to spend it on your intra workout before I tell you to spend it on a plant steroid. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah, for me, I think it was just more the shock of that, because lately you hear that the hegemonines and the hordenines and more the stimulants that are going on these warning lists, and laxagenine just seem to hit me left field.
Yeah, I think like my other concept of it though is like the hygetamines, the octopamines, stuff like that, all kind of became problems because people were overdosing them really hard.
Yeah.
And Justin and I've kind of talked about this, like we're all kind of at fault for that because we let these companies use these huge dosages, and then the FDA has to look into it. Because I'm going to keep coming back to saying the FDA is just looking into it. So laxogenin, I know of at least 3 products that were not actually laxogenin. They were called laxogenin. They got tested, and they were like super DMZ, super draw, something very dry. Yeah, something very dry, but like also very liver toxic and very like it's going to shut you down, you know? So if I was the FDA and I saw this one ingredient that kept popping for something else, I'd probably start looking into it too. I mean, look what happened with Driven Sports and their Super Droll. That's the ingredient that's most often I've seen instead of laxogenin.
Yeah.
So I can't really fault them for what they're doing. And I can't really say that I even care about laxogenin, but it technically is dietary supplement. It's literally from a plant, so it's kind of a tough spot.
I think Ben and I have a lot of similar views where, like, even going back to the FDA thing, there's some points I want to highlight about, like, everything Ben's talked about, and him and I have had these conversations. I think we're both of the mind that, hey, man, everything should be legal, sure, right? And we can decide ourselves, but it's not. We chose certain things. So at the same time as being, I don't want to get into like political like labels and stuff, but we also have to obey the rules. I firmly believe that even if you don't like them too fucking bad, these are the rules, right? We agreed to this stuff, so you have to obey by them, right? But at the same time, there is responsibility across the board. And it really kind of annoys me when I hear consumers sit there now and they want to gossip about this stuff, and they want to talk about laxogenin, they want to talk about when it gets on the FDA list, when the reason why it's there in the first place is because you have manufacturers that are willing to do whatever. You have companies willing to sell this, and then you have consumers willing to buy it without trying to hold anyone accountable along the line. So the consumer has a role in this as well. Now, granted, there's things that go on that they don't know about, but you're losing that excuse now as there's more information out there. So everyone's playing a role with why the FDA is needing to get involved with this in the first place. I mean, the FDA, you really think they want to be like dicking around with laxogenin and stuff like that? It's like, but if consumers are condoning the behavior up and down this chain, then that's what we're kind of stuck with. So when everyone wants to sit around here, this is talking about the symptoms of a greater problem. So everyone wants to get like really like uppity and excited, and it's like, why don't you take that passion and start at the beginning? The root problem is still where this is coming from, right? So it's like, why don't we put that passion when we get really upset and we go on Facebook and we complain about it? That does nothing. It's a waste of time. It's already happened. There's bigger problems at the beginning of this that we fed into that need to be addressed first. It's like when people always ask me, what do you think about laxative? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's like the problem is deeper than that. So it's like, until people recognize their roles in it and are willing to ask for something better, you kind of shit out of luck because you kind of made your own bed.
That's really what it comes down to. And it's really unfortunate. Like, I kind of get pegged as like the old NutriBio guy because like all I talk about is like amino acids and pre-workout. Like, I don't really travel into the whole plant steroid stuff because I just think it's a waste of most people's time and money. Like, I think if we could all like get a better understanding of how to actually eat, like, you wouldn't really need much of this stuff. But it's like the sexy topic to talk about, so I end up having to talk about it. I definitely think that a lot of these products have places in some people's regimens that have already figured themselves out. But the vast majority of it is like Justin was saying, it's like this is symptoms of a much larger problem, that these manufacturers are okay with completely lying about what's in the bottle. The supplement companies are okay knowing that this is going on and then selling it further. And then the retail stores, I showed Justin the other day on a live this testing that a manufacturer did just to call out another company. And in the initial stages, he said on this post, he was like, hey, retail stores, if I could prove that this product was not meeting label claim, like they're legitimately lying to you about what's in this product, would you take it off your shelves? And the retail stores were like, no, my customers love this product and it works. I don't care what is in it. I don't care if it is the opposite of what the label says. I'm still going to sell it. And it was like that kind of ignorance and arrogance, that's what's creating the problem. Is like, we can all have results and be honest about what's in the product,
Sure.
you know? So, yeah, it's like just every level of this whole thing, there's someone taking a cut or someone screwing something up, and it's going to come to a head. Like, it absolutely is going to happen at some point. So.
Yeah, but when though? I mean, I work in the medical device industry, so I'm really in the thick of like FDA.
Yeah.
Okay. But all you keep hearing is if the FDA were really crack down on the vitamin supplement industry, they're 2, 3, 4 years so backlogged.
Oh yeah. Only like 15% of the industry has actually been audited on the manufacturing level. But I don't know if you guys noticed this, but have you guys looked at High Tech Pharma's Instagram in the last 24 hours?
I just saw it was gone. Somebody asked me about it and said it was gone.
It's gone.
Yeah.
It's like it's wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're doing what they can. Like when you're the FDA and you're going up against a company like High Tech Pharma that owns like 75 different companies and all of them are $1 million companies, like how much money are you really going to be able to spend on them? So
It's a shit show.
I wonder if they're getting scrutinized for the new the pre-workout from USB Labs.
I think
Eddie's living off of.
Yeah.
I
Fucking
think
Eddie, man, Eddie, our boy, Eddie's just feeding into all this shit, man.
I mean, did you guys see they did the modern BCAA?
Right, which
But it's
is,
a totally different company, though, no?
and
So,
the other
well,
company already owns it, right?
So yeah, actually, I have a video with this on PricePlow's account. It's called Modern Sports Nutrition
Yeah.
at the Olympia.
Yep.
The old chief marketing officer, VP of sales, like all the top executives from USP that had nothing to do with the lawsuits. They went to the government and they're like, we didn't do anything. All we want is this one trademark. Like, if you just give, like, this trademark was never adulterated. It was never an issue. If you can give us this one trademark, we will never speak to you again. And they were like, yep, you can have it. And like a month later, High Tech is posting modern BCA. So
Yeah, I know they were not happy.
I mean, I wouldn't be happy.
I wouldn't be either. That was crazy. But it's like, yeah, how does that even? But it's like, so there was a window, from what I understand, there was a window of maybe like 90 days or something like that where High Tech could have snuck in there and did something, so they did.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it really worth it to them to do that? It just blows my mind, man. It's unbelievable.
I find myself asking that question every time they buy an old brand. Like, Can you buy some old brand that like barely sells at all? I'm like, is it really worth the time?
What are we doing
effort?
here?
I don't know. Like, I really don't hate many companies in this industry, but like, there are just some companies I'm like, couldn't we let this die? Like, it ran its course. It had its heyday. Let's let it go. You know, but hey, that's what it is.
It's bizarre. So bizarre.
It is.
So Justin, I got a question for you because I consider you like a nootropic guy because I think you're very, very well educated in school because I know you've said when you look at pre-workouts that you like more the nootropic side than the pump and everything else. So somebody actually emailed me wanting me to ask you, is that would you consider nootropics an everyday supplement, or does it need to be cycled, or just in the generality?
That is a tough one because there is some there's some nootropic ingredients that are, the longer you use them, the more benefits ultimately see. So while the general, I would say statement I would make is most any supplement you're going to take should be cycled in some way, shape, or form. But at the same time, a couple things play into this, right? We don't know a whole lot about some of these ingredients and their long-term brain health effects, right? Yeah. So it's why we just continue. My answer is almost always the same. We have to you can't just say, do I need to cycle nootropics? It's irrelevant, just meaningless question. It's which ingredients, like we still look at supplements in the wrong way. Supplements are just a container, a collection of ingredients for a desired outcome, right? So individually, we have to go down through these ingredients and which ones do we have long-term studies, which isn't much, especially on healthy people, and then because you just can't make broad statements like that. You know what I mean? It's just they're all so individualistic, and ingredients have different outcomes, especially when it comes to brain health. It's like we just really need to take this stuff way more seriously. Like I get a lot of questions. I had one today about what nootropic would you recommend to a beginner? It's like, I mean, that's great. I'm glad that people ask me these questions, but they also have to understand that this is the first question in a long conversation of if you want to be responsible about this. But some people don't. You know, some people get really pissed at me because I'm like, this is a long conversation, or you can just move on and go Google it somewhere else because they ain't gonna get it from here, because that's irresponsible. There's so much that goes into those products, and so much that people recklessly take that then it becomes it becomes a whole thing. But
I always end up with those questions. I always end up just like being like, what is wrong that you think you need something?
Exactly, right?
Because like we need to look at, because you're kind of right. You're like, what ingredient are you talking about, first of all? Because looking at nootropics as a whole is almost as looking at supplements as a whole. Like there's tons of different categories in here. And most of the time, if someone comes to me and like that kind of question, well, so most times someone asks me like, do I need to cycle this? They don't actually understand what they're taking.
For sure.
So I'm like, at that point, I also probably understand that you don't know why you need to be taking this. You just, like, most of these people are like, I want to take a nootropic because I saw that movie Limitless and I want to feel that way. You know, and I'm always like, well, I'm not a nootropic expert. I know like a base level of that stuff, but I'm always like, well, what symptoms are you having that you think you need this? You know, because like lion's mane, you could take that daily every day for a long time. I don't know a point where you'd have to stop taking that. But like race cams, I would not recommend that kind of stuff long term. Right, so like we need to look at what are you actually looking to get out of this, and most people can't articulate to me at that point, and it's kind of a dead conversation. And I'm like, well, why don't you come back after you think about this for a little bit? What sparked you to take this step? So
yeah, it's usually and it's good. Like I said, it's encouraging that at least people are thinking to ask the question, right? I know I get this all the time. People are like, well, you have to be sick of people saying like, what's the best this and that. And I said, no, I actually like when I get those questions, because it's another opportunity to stop someone from making those same mistakes that we've all done before, right? I've Googled what's the best pre-workout in my past until I realized what a stupid ass question it is. And it's like Ben's talking about, there's certain ingredients that are, you have some really smart people getting involved with nootropics and things like that. You have some really good, very intelligent people getting involved with supplements in general, because it didn't used to happen that way. But a lot of people are trained with biochemistry and chemistry and neurophysiology, and they're getting involved in supplements because, man, there's money to be made. So it's encouraging at the same time where you have people that are really experts in these fields getting involved, but we have to sort of weed through, you know, the people that are just trying to make a buck and the people that actually know their stuff.
And I also feel a lot of time, like even my personal self, like I used to take a bunch of different nootropics daily, and when I started changing my lifestyle a little bit more, I actually had better results from taking care of myself better than I did from adding in these compounds daily. So it was really helpful.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing that we always kind of come back to. It's like, it's right, supplements, man. It's like the word itself, right? It doesn't mean do shit for you, right? It means a supplement to a healthy lifestyle. And that's, people always ask me, what in your supplement routine have you changed the most? What have you seen the biggest benefits? I was like, no, what I've seen the biggest benefits is the overall lifestyle change. And a lot of it, I think Ben can kind of elaborate on this too, is just by trying. Like, people are, what do you think of the keto diet? What do you think of fasting? What do you think of this? Like, this is better than this. It's like, I just try stuff. Like, I try different workouts. I've tried CrossFit. I've tried powerlifting. I've tried bodybuilding workouts, different kind of diets. What ultimately gave me the best chances for long-term success? And once you find that out, man, then you can, I always like compare, like, adding supplements is sort of like, you know, you're framing in a window or something like that. And once you get it in there, then you can kind of shim it here and there. And next thing you know, boom, everything's like tightened up perfectly. But you're never going to be able to shim a window that's completely, completely crooked. It's like, and that's what I think people try to do, is they try to just force feed supplements into these gaps that they just lack.
I think that window analogy is really good. Mike PricePlow is like crazy about keto. Like he thinks sugar
Yeah.
is addictive and it's a drug, and I like when I do videos with him, sometimes I find myself being like, "You're not wrong." But like I'm a power lifter, and if I tried to power lift on the amount of carbs that Mike eats, like it would be a window that doesn't fit the hole. You know, it just wouldn't work. And I definitely like I've done keto for weight cuts before, and oh my god, I dropped weight so easily. Like it was awesome, and that was definitely a good viable option for that. But like if I tried to do this without carbs, dude, it would be hard. It would be so bad. So finding like what really is close to your needs. I mean, I also am a big fan of like discipline. Like you got to do it at some point. You got to do the thing. But like you're right. Like finding what is sustainable and useful for you. It's anywhere from like the lifestyle choices to the diet choices to the training to the supplements. Like I have found that like taking like 6 different scoops to the gym, like my pre-workout, my intra-workout, my carbs, my post-workout, all it's different. Like I'm not going to use all of it. I'm just lazy. Like I can't do that. Like I see people that like show up with like these stacks of powders. And
Right.
I'm just not going to do it. It's just not going to happen. Like I consider myself an advanced athlete. I'm not going to do it. I leave it at home. I come home and do it there. So finding out what works for your lifestyle is definitely the most important part.
Yeah, people ask me about because I do intermittent fasting, but people are like, "Oh, yeah, I do intermittent fasting because it unlocks these hacks into fat loss and and I was like, well, no, I'm just not hungry anymore.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, your muscle is gonna waste away and fall off your body. I was like, well, I do it and that doesn't happen. So that's what the ultimate trump card to all this stuff, all this conjecture and all this debate and speculation is when you do it yourself. Then you can take someone's opinion, that's great. But I can also be like, yeah, that's cool, but it works. And then someone was talking about keto yesterday. We were joking about keto, and they made a really good point about there's so much of the population that can benefit from keto because they're so addicted to the the high carbohydrate, the sugars, the obesity that we're facing, right? And that was one thing that I learned from intermittent fasting, what taught me, and Ben hit on it. He said discipline. Once I realized that, okay, I taught myself, hey man, you're not going to eat, for this amount of time, and wow, you're fine. Like you're good. You don't have to eat. Like I grew up listening to the bodybuilders that said you have to eat every 2 hours and you stoke your metabolic fire and all that other bullshit. And then I found out that was not true. So when people try to tell me the opposite, I was like, well, that's cool, but I already know that's not true because I already did it.
Yeah.
So
I already
discipline.
I also think about like what's optimal too. Like this whole if it fits your macros thing too. Like I follow macros too. I just count them just because it's easy for me. But like if I was gonna do a bodybuilding show, I'm not. But if I was going to,
right,
I wouldn't be eating Pop-Tarts.
Right.
Like I don't care if it fits in my macros because it's gonna take out 70 grams of carbs that I'm gonna have 30 left for the day. Like it's not optimal. It just doesn't. And that's like the other thing about a lot of this stuff is like, yeah, it works. Sure. Like Lane Norton talked about how he like won a bodybuilding show eating ice cream. Like it works. You can do it, but it doesn't mean it's the best. So I hate that word, but still like it doesn't mean it's going to be the most optimal way for you to do it. So
when we take these snapshots, we've talked about this before too, especially with the way Instagram, social media, all this other stuff. We take these snapshots of like a bodybuilder can come out now and say, I do plant-based or I do this, and that's cool. And they can talk about, oh, this really helps me in this snapshot in time. But what about the 30 years of training and experimentation and diet? So it's like we have to be really careful looking at this little window snapshot of people online that have to produce content sometimes. Not saying they're all lying or anything like that, but there's a tremendous amount of pressure, and Ben can definitely attest to this. There's a tremendous amount of pressure to constantly produce content, be in front of people, and keep people's attention. So it's like, and there's not that much to talk about. There's like, just don't eat like an asshole and get off your ass. It's like, how many different ways can we say that? But it's like, so there's like this pressure to constantly like stay in front of people. But what are you really going to say? So it's like, you kind of have to, not saying that they're making stuff up, but collectively we don't take the whole picture into account when we're like scrolling through Instagram or watching a YouTube video sometimes.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just our society nowadays. We want that instant gratification. Someone tries a diet, whatever it is, for a week. They lose 1 pound. They're like, it sucks. I'm gonna go on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. I mean, let's face it. They want the instant gratification.
Oh yeah. And I think that's the funny thing about supplements. I look at like these people freaking out like about all these different supplements. Like half of them are just energy, like that, and that's just giving them the instant like, oh my god, I had so much energy for this workout. But like the long-term benefits aren't even in there. Like you're not getting anything out of half these things. You're just getting this like acute benefit right away, and that makes this product the best. But there's a lot of stuff out there that has long-term benefits that most of the people that are reviewing these things or interested in these things wouldn't have the patience to actually get to the point of.
Yeah, I think like for me, I would say I started adding like intra-workout carbohydrates and taking care of post-workout stress and paying attention to my cortisol levels and stuff like that. I probably started really paying attention to that 18 months ago. And I would say now, after consistently paying attention to that and recovery and stuff for that amount of time, now I'm really starting to reap the benefits from that. But that's just one of those things that someone buys a bottle, and if they're not seeing these immediate insane results after that bottle's done, then they're like, and they just wind up chasing their tail, where it's like, man, usually it's just long-term commitment. Whatever helps you stay committed to this process long-term is ultimately the best, right? Supplement for you is whatever's going to help you adhere to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I think in terms of progress, like the fastest progress of like a legal supplement I've ever taken, so we can go the other way too, right. But like adding branch cyclic dextrin into every single workout, like, and essential amino acids with it, but like adding that to every single workout, like 75 grams per workout, like my energy during the workout, my endurance during the workout, and my like results short term from that was the fastest I've ever seen something change. I mean,
yeah, I was the same. That's what I got into is I inadvertently basically cut carbohydrates out of my, because I stopped with bread, I stopped with all this other stuff, right? And I felt a lot better. I got shredded, right? But I was not sleeping very well. My stress was really bad and things like that. So once I discovered the role that, carbohydrates can play with, say, like endurance and post-workout stress and stuff like that, and nighttime, eating carbs at night can help if you have certain issues. It's like, once I discovered how to fit that together with what I was doing the rest of the day, it's like, that's when I got to the point where I was just really comfortable, not only like healthy weight wise, but also felt good, at the same time. But it was a lot of discovery that goes into that. And it's like, man, people just want you to tell them the answer. And it's like, I can't do that. I wish I could, but I can't,
This is a pretty funny story. We had this athlete at NutriRoute named Rob Philippus. He has the all-time world record squat in the 308 class. He squatted like 930 or something like that. It's absolutely insane. Guy's like 345 pounds, and he squats for like 2.5, 3 hours. And the first time I flew him to Jersey to do a photo shoot with him, I took him to the gym the first day, and he pulls out this gallon of water, and he starts scooping super carb into this gallon of water. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, he wasn't stopping. He was just like scooping. He was like, on the back of your container, it says for 1 gallon of water, use 10 scoops. And I realized that we had written the back of the container for like basketball teams. So like, you'd make like a gallon of this and you'd like pour it out for like little Dixie cups for them and stuff. Like it wasn't like for you to drink a gallon of this. It was and this 350 pound dude was like, dude, the second I started doing this, I had the most incredible workouts. So I'm not 345 pounds, obviously. So I was like, all right, I'll start at like 75 grams. And like the way that I was training at the time was I would take like squat, bench, deadlift, or any like major lift. I would do like 10 sets ish, and then I'd have a top set, which was even heavier. And every time I got to the top set, I was like gassed out. I was so dead. I started taking all these carbs, and all of a sudden, like I didn't even feel it. Like I was like, I could just keep going. It was incredible. So I'm a huge fan of branch cyclic dextrin now. If I could afford it, I'd drink it throughout the day almost, I think.
Well, and that's the thing that I like about Ben too, is, and you can tell just from his experiences, because he's like, here's what I do. I'm a power lifter. This is my goals. This is why I supplement the way I do when it's like I just see too often these people with these platforms and they just say stuff and it's like it's so you're talking to such a wide range of people out there. It's like you have to qualify what you're saying with this is my goal, and people just don't do it sometimes. And it's just like that's why people just constantly they always ask me, well, what fitness podcast do you listen to? What's that? I was like, I don't listen to any of them, man. Like,
yeah, I watch just because I have to keep up with the industry. I feel it's funny, Justin. I feel like I personally feel more of a responsibility than I feel like you do. I know you kind of like you shut your phone off at the end of the night and stuff, but like I feel like I have to keep up with everyone, so I do a decent amount of it. But yeah, I hate listening to other people's opinions sometimes because it's like, contrary to popular belief, my opinion doesn't change with who my highest bidder is for my content. I know that there is like a really big rumor out there that if someone pays me, I'll push their stuff, but I'm pretty honest about what I like and what I don't like.
For sure, man. No, that's for sure, man. I agree with that.
Yeah. We had a call out from Brian. Do you know who Brian Hendricks is?
Oh God, yes.
I'm so glad that you guys don't like him, or at least Sean doesn't. Yeah, he's just this random nobody on the internet that he's like a stay-at-home dad. His wife like works in the Air Force, so he just sits at home and badgers companies for free shit and like tells them he's going to talk about it.
No, a few people like that.
Yeah, but the unfortunate part is a lot of these companies, like, they're like, yeah, we'll send you our stuff. And I don't know why, but they do. Sure. And, yeah, he posted this whole thing about us and another friend, someone else in the industry. I won't say just because he didn't ask me to. But, and basically talking about how unhonest we are because we're paid. And it's kind of hard. I mean, Sean, it sounds like you actually have a full-time job outside of this, but, like, if you want to do this full time, you have to be able to support yourself.
You gotta make money.
Right? Yeah. I wish I could do something like Justin's, where like I don't have to go for each content piece. Like you have a platform, like the app does. But unfortunately, I mean, we have to take care of ourselves. So it was funny. I shot back and I was like, hey, I was at Supply Side West last week, meeting with the leading formulators and industry consultants. Like, I didn't see you there.
Well, that's an interesting question. Something that maybe we can talk about is I think no matter how unbiased you want to be, Sean, Ben, me, we all have like say slightly different roles in the industry, but we all kind of converge together. But you can't be unbiased as like a human being. Like you meet people. There's a lot of really fantastic people in this industry. And when you meet them and you hear their reasoning behind things, even though as much as say we just try to focus on ingredients, part of the whole picture for consumers now is because a lot of the products are the same, so they want the whole entire experience. It's why Ghost is so popular. They've figured out a way to build brand loyalty because it's this entire lifestyle, things that, and now other brands want to do the same thing, but it's like people want to feel connected to the owners and all this other stuff. So, I mean, it's like you try to be unbiased and then you get accused of showing bias, but it's like, man, there's only so much you can really do. We're all human beings. There's some really good people. You can't help but really gravitate towards certain people in this industry that have a lot of passion and a lot of desire to help people. So it's like there's a fine line with that. And then Ben, you're sort of coming into a company that was already established, so it's like kind of a tough thing. But Sean, I mean, you're not relying on this industry to make money, but even you, I mean, you have companies where you're like, hey man, I like this guy and I like his product. So there's nothing wrong with saying that.
Yeah, and you'll notice too, it's all about what is said and how it's said. Like I will never, like Robbie said a couple of weeks ago, I never say this is the best pre-workout, this is the best X. I like it for me. Doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And I think people.
Although Hooligan is the best pre-workout.
I only had it once. I survived. So Ben, I don't know if you know that story, but my max is generally 300 to 350 mgs a calf on any kind of pre. Yeah, so hashtag stim pussy. Okay. And I actually got a scoop from Matt at 5-minute Sup reviews of Hooligan. Okay. So I took it. These guys don't believe me, but I survived and I enjoyed it. There's no evidence. Yeah, it was a Ziploc. So anyway.
There's only a photo of a Ziploc bag and then him saying, well, I took it and I survived. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love that stuff, and I don't work with Robbie. You know, like I just don't. I love that pre-workout. I do have some content coming out about high dose caffeine because I thought that whole debacle with the metabolic nutrition. Yeah, this has been taking a while to put together, but we're gonna have a huge blog post on safety data, the benefits, all the potential side effects, and we're going to address the vasoconstriction thing as well because that's a pretty big. I categorize it as a rumor that high stimulants. I think it was brought up because the DMA was a vasoconstrictor,
For
but
sure.
yeah,
One certain organ, one certain part of the male
Right.
body.
Yeah, like I said, Nick did hit it on the head, like literally. He's like, man, if you want to know if it's vasoconstrictive or not, try and use your dick.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, caffeine seems to work fine for me. So, I don't know. I think it's a good topic for everyone to kind of jump into. It's like, how high can we go with this? I've seen some people claim that there is an industry like level where it's insurance companies won't insure you and stuff like that, but I haven't seen any evidence to support that. Also, DMA products from high tech are insured, so there's someone doing it. So,
Yeah, I've had company owners say to me that they can't, like that was one of their excuses for using prop blends, is because if they disclose the amount of caffeine, they wouldn't be able to get insured. But I have no idea whether that's true or not.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The companies that I used for insurance, I was at companies where we didn't have to really worry about caffeine doses. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, I think that we're at a point in the industry where there are enough content providers where we can talk about some interesting stuff. And sometimes I like challenging the status quo, like with this caffeine thing I'm excited about because a lot of people hated on the metabolic thing. And at first I didn't hate on it. And then when I talked to Robbie about it for a little bit, I kind of understood why I would prefer Hooligan over the metabolic 750. But I mean, I love Hooligan. I've got a bottle of it on top of my refrigerator I'm going to use today. So there's a lot of cool stuff coming out. I just got this yesterday. Are you guys Primeval fans?
I've never tried a product my whole life.
Okay, their old Mega Pre-Black. They got in a lot of trouble for getting rid of it. Everyone loved it. So I've got a beta sample of the new one that's going to be coming out. So that's kind of cool. Primevals, they're solid people. They're kind of another one of those like you like the people. There are other brands I might use more products from, but if you like I'm biased to these guys. I like them. They're good people. They do good things for the industry. They highlight good people. And it's kind of actually a fun spot in the industry right now. I know you guys have kind of talked a little bit of shit on influencers, but like sometimes I can appreciate a company that brings good content to the industry as well. Like Ghost, I know you guys aren't the biggest fans of, but like
I like Ghost.
Yeah. I mean the content that they brought to the industry explains a lot of what goes behind the scenes. So like while their pre-workout might not be as strong as the regular SuppTalk pre-workout, it's kind of a weird part in the industry where like your offerings aren't just your products anymore.
Yeah,
for sure. So, no, I think influencers, because it's such a broad term, right? It's like what I don't really care for is I just tell people don't ever buy a product because of an influencer, right? Just don't do that. But you see these athletes that bounce from brand to brand to brand, and then they say, "Oh, this is the best. These are the greatest." Those are the people. It's like, come on, man. But influencers, I think, are really important, and I think are a good thing for the industry in general. Like, it is easy to go off the rails as an influencer, but as Ben, you're an influencer. Sean, you're an influencer. I'm an influencer in this industry. You can see how easy it actually is to go off the rails. Like, I mean, you get, I mean, even people that know, like, we get offers for money and advertising, and it's like even companies that I 100% love and agree with, they'll be like, well, how can we collaborate? And I'm like, we can't. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's kind of pretty fucking tempting because it's like, hey man, I already love your vision or your products, and I think what you're doing is good, but at the same time, it's like, once you start to go down that road, then you sort of open up. Not that it's good or bad, but you just invite.
You have to know where you stand. You have to know where you stand. And I've kind of forced myself to get a little bit more creative. I started working with raw ingredient companies more. I mean, that's why I spent all that time at Supply Side West. I worked with Nutrition 21, New Live Sciences, Compound Solutions. and it's a completely different side of the industry, which is a lot of fun. I think that a lot of the time, like we were just talking about Hooligan, and we keep relying on the fact that there's 700 milligrams of caffeine in there, but we forget that there's a lot of other stuff in there. It's really cool.
Exactly.
So we're working with a new company called NNB, which you guys probably haven't heard of yet. It's a raw ingredient company out of China, which actually they created C8 Advantage, which is that really cool MCT powder, which was in Nutrex's plant protein, which is why it's so smooth.
Okay.
Yeah, that is.
But they did like a really cool fat burning ingredient called Biba, which we're going to be doing like and it's cool because once you do work on like just one ingredient, you can really hone in on what that ingredient feels like, as opposed to like what this whole pre-workout feels like. So
yeah, I'm 100% on board with that too. I would much rather, like people ask me, we went to Olympia this year. I'm not going to Olympia next year. I'm going to go to Supply Side. We're going to go Supply Side East, Ben, is in Jersey, like in April. So I'm for sure going to try to go to that because that's really where I feel we need to be is ingredients, because everything else, like we'll always talk about, people always want to talk about products and brands and stuff like that. And we can do that. But the focus for us anyway needs to be ingredients. And as long as you know that, I try and stay in our lane and try not to worry about anybody else and, just do that.
I think especially for the way that your information is positioned, because this is the facts with Supplement Snoop. Like, this is just who it is. This is the ingredients here. I think it makes sense for you guys to be at Supply Side instead of Olympia. I kind of straddle both because I don't just talk about the ingredients. I also talk about the company as a whole and how I like to tell the story as well. I think it creates a more compelling piece of content.
For sure.
So I have to be at Olympia stuff, unfortunately. This year sucked. It was just so boring.
We were there for if we hadn't, there was a few people that I had never met before. That was the only reason why we were even at the expo for longer than 5 minutes. We walked in and I kind of looked around and I was like, wow. So if you were into t-shirts, it was cool. But you could tell the only brands that really had big booths are the ones that needed to get rid of some money.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate. I did those shows for a long time, and I hated running them. They're so annoying, and being at them, I hate screaming and getting through crowds and stuff.
Right.
So Supply Side was cool. Supply Side was one of the most fun I've ever had in 2 days in this industry, and some of the most I've ever learned as well. So you'll meet people at those shows, the Supply Side. Like, I met David Sandler, who I have an interview coming out with. Guys that like you would never recognize the name of, and then you ask them like what they've formulated for it, and all of a sudden you're like, I've taken all of those products. So there's some really cool people behind the scenes at those things. So
Is this open to the public, or do you actually have to have kind of credentials?
It's open to the public, but the ticket to get in is ridiculously priced. So
it's like $150 or something like that.
Yeah, it's just for like 1 day.
Yeah.
But I mean, for us, I got a media pass. I signed up. I have a channel, so I'm sure you guys will be able to do that too. So
yeah, totally worth it. From what I honestly, man, I'm so new to this industry. I just didn't even know like these things were things. There's so much that over the last year, and Ben knows we've had all these conversations about this kind of the stuff that goes on, both good and bad, that I just, as a consumer, and that's where I try to connect with the people that are still on the outside, where it's like, you just can't possibly fathom when you're the typical person that just wants to go work out real quick, you want to be healthier, and I'm going to Google what's the best pre-workout. Okay, there's so many people that are like that. I was just like that, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
From that point to what we know now, or to what I know now, is like it's mind-blowing. All the steps and all the things that can, both good and bad, in the middle there. So it's like, you don't expect people to want to go from there all the way through, but you want to try to help them along the way. However far they want to take it, you want to be able to sort of help them along that path some way.
It's bizarre. There are so many levels of deception at each one too. You start you talk about prop blends at the product level, like the testings that aren't done on the raw ingredients. The stuff that goes on there is even scarier. So
scary, it's a good word.
Yeah, it's almost like I honestly sometimes when some people start talking about I don't even want to know. Like,
right, I'm like, I didn't ask. I didn't want to know this shit. Why are you telling me this?
Like I had a very long conversation with a manufacturer earlier this week, and I started finding out where half of these good companies are manufactured, and it's like I thought those were good products. Like they're formulated well, but like you start seeing where they're manufactured, like some of these rooms that they're being manufactured in, you're like, that's not a clean room. Like they can't even clean that room. How do I know they're actually putting the product in there? There are like certain like small things. Like if you can't do the small things right, like how do I know that you're doing the big things right? In my mind, at least. So
Yeah, we have a lot of conversations about that when I see, if a company is misspelling shit on their labels and doing things, it's like it's just to me, it's just sort of something that stops me and goes, so how much effort are you putting into this?
right.
This whole entire process. It's like if you're not taking it seriously, that's enough. A spelling error on a product is for me enough for me not to buy the product, because first off, there's no products, say, on the market that say aren't gray area or whatever, that are so differentiated that I have to have that product, right? And it's like if you aren't putting, whether it ultimately you have the greatest formula inside there or not, if you're not going to at least make sure that those loose ends are tied up, then I don't really want to use your products, because I can go to somebody else that does dot those I's and cross those T's and does take it very seriously. So I want to reward those companies with my business rather than buy one, get one frees or sales and discounts of people that aren't taking care of things. And I don't know, man. Not everybody has to be that way, but it's just the way I am.
We're at the spot right now in the industry where and I'm going to name 3 companies here, but it could be different for everyone. But like Ghost, NutriBio, and like Revive MD, like I can get all of my health, my lifestyle, and my sports products from those 3 companies. I know where they're all made. I trust all those manufacturers. And if you're going to come out with a new brand, you're going to tell me that your product's better, you have to show me why I'm going to stop ordering from these companies.
Yep.
Because I'm already comfortable, happy, and profiting off of this in terms of not money, but like in terms of results here. So like why would I even stop that? Because if I'm going to stop taking this product to take your product, I'm risking my results, I'm risking my health, I'm risking all these different things, and I could be just wasting my time for a month. So it's like there's already these really solid companies that exist. There's also Morphogen. You had Will on your IG live yesterday. Like there's these really great companies out there, and there's still 6 new companies every day on Stack 3D's site.
Yep.
So it's like, well, what's different?
What are you doing?
You have to show me something. It can't just be the same beta alanine, citrulline, and caffeine.
Well, I don't know, Sean. I think that was a pretty damn good, responsible message to end the podcast on. I don't even think you need to use me as a closer. I think that's a really good point that Ben made, and it's part of the whole process that I try to get people. I don't want to say try to, because they come to me. That's the difference with what I don't want to go out there and tell people what to do. But if you come to me and ask, let's walk through this process. Get to the point Ben's at. Get to the point I'm at, where you go, you know what? I'm good. And if you want to come at me, like I feel bad for companies that shoot me random DMs and stuff like that, and they'll say, it's kind of spam, and I'm like, you sure you want to do this? Because it's like you're gonna have to prove it. So if you want to knock me off my position that I've gotten to through a lot of experience and trial and error and conversing with other people that I trust fully, like Ben in this industry, then good luck. But I would love to see it. I would love to see you try. But it's like you're gonna have to really there's so many companies that get started this day. If you got $3,000 and then you can make a phone call, we can have a company started.
72
cool.
hours.
Yeah, it's cool and all. I mean, it's nice in a way that we can have entrepreneurship like that, but it's ultimately not really a good thing.
And it's all like, I don't know, I kind of say it like I'm happy that I'm at this point in the industry, but I'm also kind of sad too, because like I used to be excited over this stuff. When I worked at GNC, like we get like the new testosterone booster and it's like $150. I'm like, this is it.
Right?
This is how I become Mr. Olympia, and I was always so excited. And then I started realizing like there's nothing legal in this industry that's going to do that for us. And it makes me sad because like, then these products come out, and like Mark Loblander came out with this thing. What is it called? Peak Physicor the other day. It's like a strength product, and like I want to try it. I really do. But at the same time, like his video is like this product in clinical studies showed to like double your bench press.
Right. Yeah.
And I commented, I was like, I want to try this because if I double my bench press, it's going to be 840 pounds.
Right. I'll be in the
and that's freaking awesome.
Right.
It's not going to happen, you know? And so I don't know, like, we're just at this point where I'm like, can we all just center ourselves a little bit and then start again? Because,
yeah,
like, I had to look up Nick. I didn't know who Nick was before I started watching the SuppTalk radio. Like, no offense, I just didn't know about Rage Nutrition.
No,
so I looked up his site, and it was like home of like the strongest pre-workout. And like everyone kind of has to say that now. I get it, but at the same time, like, I'm kind of tired of hearing it. Like, give me any other claim. Like, I don't know what the claim is yet, and I'm a marketing guy, but like we have to come up with something that isn't like we have the strongest pre-workout.
Game changer.
Game changer. I hate saying that too. Oh,
you're like, oh God, don't make me say it.
I felt so awkward when I put out that Chips Ahoy video for Ghost. Like, I honestly love that protein. Like, it's my favorite protein. It is so good. But like, I didn't want to give it to someone. I didn't want to like let someone have that status because like, I don't know. Like, I always like, how do you top that? You don't.
Right. No, I agree.
So guys, it's definitely been a pleasure. Ben, I really do appreciate the time. We've kind of just barely scratched over some of the stuff here, but great content. Ben, for people to get to know you well enough, where can they follow you?
You can go to PricePlow, obviously, PricePlow, or my personal Instagram, Strength and Honor and Fitness 1. So
Ben's got some good stuff on his personal Instagram, by the way.
I put some more controversial stuff on my personal one. I try not to put anything on my business one that is not, I don't know, appropriate or whatever. So yeah, it's a little bit more fun on mine sometimes.
So I don't know if you saw it quick enough when I put my first meme up of you both. Justin kind of, because I pulled something off your Instagram.
Oh, it's
and
good.
Justin said you might not want to use that picture because it was a previous company that maybe didn't have a good run with. So I pulled it down.
Oh shit!
Put something else up there again.
There was a
I'm pretty careful. I mean, I still have a really good relationship with Nutra, so I talk about that. But with other companies that I've worked with, sometimes NDAs and non-competes and stuff come into play, so I just don't talk about it. So I appreciate Justin looking out for that.
I saw it. I was like, Sean, maybe
not that one.
But I think too, like, and I get a lot of this stuff. For all the people that like listen to, and the industry has changed a lot. Influencers have changed. The role of content and information has changed. We're really starting to scratch the surface where we can do more. I know a lot of people that come to me and they discredit certain things that, let's talk, I mean, we'll just be blunt about it. Some people have not appreciated the way, say, PricePlow changed in the past, but Ben's there now. And I mean, I can vouch for Ben's integrity and credibility. And I think that anything that he's involved with is worth following along with. And then it's also something that I think I can get behind. And like the more of us that, and not even us just with these platforms, but the more of us that are also consumers and we can talk about things like this, that's ultimately going to better the industry all the way around, because there has to be accountability all the way around. So I think, you know, for people that are like big fans of Supplement Snoop and stuff like that, and have sort of like drifted away from PricePlow, like Ben's there now, you know, don't be so dismissive of certain people and certain things, and because there's a lot of people trying to do what they can to just really get good information out there. And I think it's ultimately the role and responsibility collectively. Like, we can't all be separate, you know, and taking shots at each other and doing all this other stuff. We don't really get anywhere that way. So I think just people you can pick, you know, you can kind of get information from different places and sort of put that puzzle together. Ultimately, everyone sort of benefits from stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I really wanted to hop on here with you guys. I did see sometimes there were some comments, and I never feel like I need to clean anything up or cover anything up for PricePlow, but I know like in the past there have been some comments or rumors or whatever, and like we talked about in the podcast, like everyone's got to put food on their table. But one of the first things I did when I spoke with Mike when I flew out to Austin and we started working together was I was like, hey, instead of being like a review channel, we should be a content channel, because as much as you want to be unbiased, we are producing content for companies. I mean, I'm pretty dead honest. Like, I've honestly said on videos, I hate this flavor before. I'm pretty honest about that stuff. But the other side of it too is like, I turn down companies if the review's gonna be bad. Like, if I look at your product and it's like a really shitty product, I'm not gonna waste your money, your time, my time on any of this. So I am very honest about that. People have complained that I don't shit on brands, but like I try to spend my time as positively as possible. I have, I work like 50, 60 hours a week. I'm not going to spend it editing up videos where I'm like, these guys suck. I hate this. And, it's just, I know, Justin, you see it too. It's like, how are you going to spend your time? So, cool. Well, thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Man, it's been a pleasure. And, again, Justin and I have a lot of trust in what Justin hangs around with, I guess, pretty much. So, again, much respect to you, and I'm glad we finally got able to connect.
Yeah, if you ever need anyone on the show for more of a clinical side or coming from the manufacturing side, I'm always happy to jump on.
We have Nick on as well, and you guys can go back and forth. That might be an interesting conversation.
I joke about Nick's stuff, but I actually really enjoy his point of view on a lot of stuff. I mean, while I did come from the manufacturing side and the more clinical side, I'm also like, I'm a very advanced lifter and I'm a hardcore trainer. So I understand and appreciate that side of it. I just always kind of am an advocate for like, hey, these are the actual laws.
Yeah.
We can break them. That's fine. But like, hey, just so you guys know that this stuff exists.
Right. 100%.
So cool.
Perfect. Well, guys, again, thanks so much, guys, and enjoy the rest of your day.
All right, gentlemen.
Have a good one.
Thanks, guys. Be well.